Hi there. Thank you so much for joining us today for this WeSys webinar brought to us by Cisco, our wonderful strategic partner. I'm so happy to have Veronica here to be talking about 2021's top 10 tips to protect your privacy. My name is Lynn Dome, and I'm Women in Cybersecurity Executive Director. We often go by our acronym WeSys, W-I-C-Y-S, as in We Sisters, because that's exactly what we are. We're a cyber sisterhood. And so our mission is to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity. And we do so by creating opportunities. We have over 5,000 members and have representation in over 70 countries. We have 40 professional affiliates in Africa, Australia, Canada, France, India, Pakistan, the UK, and all throughout the United States, and 130 student chapters in Canada, India, Nigeria, Costa Rica, and all throughout the United States as well. And because our mission is to recruit, retain, and advance women in cybersecurity, we have many different initiatives. We have an online member forum where all our members can network and connect. Within the forum, we have special interest groups such as neurodiversity in cybersecurity, Latinas in cybersecurity, data privacy, cybersecurity law. You name it, those conversations could be had in the special interest group. And if it's not there, you could launch your own. We have many different skill development training programs, such as the SANS Security Training Scholarship made possible by Google, Bloomberg, and Facebook. AWS builds out a roadmap for us for jams for beginner, intermediate, and advanced players. We have senior and executive level cloud security simulations, gamified cybersecurity challenges, and many, many more training programs. We have newsletters and webinars, scholarship grants and awards, not only for our conference, which is March 17th through the 19th in Cleveland, Ohio, but for other conferences as well. As a note for our conference that's coming up, our call for participation, the deadline is October 18th. So if you're interested in presenting at the WeSys conference, I encourage you to go ahead on our website, wesys.org, and submit. Also, our scholarship grants and awards are all open, available for applications until October 18th as well. We have a Cyber Talent Emergency Fund that's available for students within their last 4 semesters of graduating. If they have a financial emergency, such as a medical bill or their car breaks down, they can't afford their rent. We don't want that to derail them from their education. We need them to graduate and get out in the workforce. So they can receive up to $599 within 48 hours of submitting the application. We have speaking and media opportunities because we want our members to be what others can see, and that's the cybersecurity professionals that they are. We have a Job Board Plus where all our strategic partners post their jobs and recruit from, strategic partners such as Cisco. And all our members have the opportunity to upload their resumes and update their profiles and get recruited from it. We have a veteran apprenticeship program, an internship program, participate in market research. We have leadership summits and virtual and in-person career fairs. We have military and spouses and veterans assistance program, in addition to our mentor-mentee program, which we're really proud to announce that for the 2021-2022 cohorts, we have 191 mentors and 755 mentees. And that program was designed and structured with us developing a curriculum to upskill and uplevel women, no matter where they're at in their career, preparing them for their next level of advancement. Additionally, we have a racial equity committee in which leads leadership series on leading with equity, allyship, and inclusion. And what does that look like? We have many, many more initiatives, so I encourage you to check out our website. And all of this is brought to us thanks by our strategic partners. And are you ready? Because I do read them all, so I'm going to do it fast. It's AWS, Bloomberg, Carnegie Mellon University Software Engineering Institute, Cisco, that brings us our webinar here today, Facebook, Google, Lockheed Martin, Microsoft, Optum, AbbVie, JP Morgan Chase and Company, LinkedIn, Navy Federal Credit Union, Nike, Sentinel One, Wayfair, Workday, Accenture, American Airlines, Arctic Wolf, Champlain College, Dell Technologies, InvestNet, Flatiron, Fortinet, Haystack Solutions, Here Technologies, The Home Depot, IBM, Indiana University, MITRE, Motorola Solutions, Oak Ridge National Lab, Palo Alto Networks, PayPal, Salesforce, Sands Institute, SAP, Schlumberger, Smooth Stack, Spear Tip, Starbucks, Target, University of California, San Diego, and Verizon. Whew, we got through it all. And so I'd like to encourage you to ask a lot of questions. At the bottom of your on the bottom of your video, there's the feature there for you to put your questions in there. Ask it all throughout the presentation today, and Veronica will answer them at the end of the session. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to Veronica, and she is going to take it from here.
Hello. I hope everyone is doing well. Thank you so much for tuning in today to hear what my top 10 privacy tips are. Before we kick it off, I just want to say thanks, big shout out to Lynn and Sharquita and Women in Cybersecurity Organization for giving me this opportunity to talk. When I was listening through that, as you can see, when you came back to the video, I was so engaged because it just touched my heart on so many things and the great things that you're doing, the scholarships. I myself am a beneficiary of a program called Students Rising Above. And it has the same, just helping people who are the first in their family to go to college. There are hardships that we run into. And then the other biggest thing that you touched on is mentors and sponsors. Patty Azzarello, she has the book called Rise and Move. And I love both of those books, especially the book Move. And she became the youngest general manager of HP at the age of 33. And what she said was, she couldn't do it alone. She needed mentors and she needed sponsors. And Beyonce said the same thing, people. So we all know Beyonce's queen. So she says she needs help and she can't do it alone. Mentors are there for you. So as Lynn mentioned, I am the I work at Cisco and I am the chief of staff for the privacy office. I am a year into my role. So in dog years, that seems like a lot, but in Cisco years, that means I'm still fairly new to privacy. And within that year, I've learned so much about privacy, and that's why I'm here today. I want to share what I've learned about privacy. That way you can use them as tips as you yourself as a consumer, as well as something that you can carry over into your business, and then knowing your rights. So for me, knowing my rights was the biggest one, and it impacted me the most. And it impacted me the most because growing up, I had this picture perfect family, and at the age of 6, it shattered into a million pieces. And as a result, my mother, my sister, and I lived in hiding from my dad. Our entire life, we're always in hiding. Luckily for us, it wasn't the internet age, right? And it makes me think about domestic violence survivors now, where their address is physically available. It's available online. Their physical address of where they live is available online. And I'm so grateful to be a resident of California, where I can leverage the California Consumer Privacy Act to leverage my right and delete my physical address that's online for my safety. And so with that, I want to, kick it off. And again, just share with you what you have your rights to, something you can leverage over to your business, and then just keep your privacy day to day. So I'll share my screen, or my slide, should I say. Here is just the title to our conversation today. And my LinkedIn is listed here if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn. Hopefully you do. So my first tip is reviewing permissions for mobile apps and browser extensions. Growing up, we were always taught about stranger danger. We were always told, as children, don't give out your name, your address, your phone number. Yet now that we're adults and we download these applications, the visual might be a little small, but you're open to open up your phone, but still pay attention to me. And you'll look at what you're giving your apps access to. And let's just use the flashlight app, for example. Why does your flashlight app need access to your contacts? It's not going to help my friend Maria or my friend Jose turn on their light. That app only exists on my phone. So why does it need access to my contacts? It doesn't. So one of the things that I recommend everyone on the call to do is review the permissions on your mobile app. And one of the things that I do, because there are some that do need my location, well, I change it to only use my location when I allow it to versus my location being on at all times. Another big one that I use is microphone. I make sure that my microphone is off at all times, again, unless I manually go in there and change it. That go ahead, listen into my conversation, or go ahead, I'm going to need you because I need to search for the nearest restaurant, or I need to order something online. Other than that, I do not give my applications permission to anything. All right, cookies. Just like in the virtual world, cookies are just like in real life, cookies are good for you. But cookies are also bad for you. In real life, cookies taste so delicious, but they're very caloric. A moment on the lips, forever on the hips is something my mom used to tell me. That's probably because she didn't want me eating too much sugar. But in any case, same thing with virtual. So cookies, they're good for you if you like being targeted, if you like being remembered of what you recently searched for. If you like these directed targeting apps, for example, let's just say you have a web search for a barbecue grill. And now when you're on one site and you move to the next site, you start to notice that, hey, an ad for barbecue grills is popping up. And then you move to another site, an ad for barbecues is popping up. You might be shopping around for the best barbecue grill, so you don't mind it. But there are some people who mind it. Luckily, you have the option to change your cookie preferences. You can log on and have it where it's strictly only necessary for function. And then depending on where you live, some of the rights are do not sell my personal information. Excuse me as I click through to each to the next. Another one of my favorites is settings. And Lynn and I actually ran into this. So one of the things, just like I do with my mobile applications, with my online setting browsers, I have it set really strict, not to know my location, not to have access to my microphone. And when her and I were doing a practice session, it didn't allow Bright Talk to come through, and it didn't allow it because I had to manually go in, check the box to opt in to, you know what, go ahead and have access to my microphone, check the box to opt in, go ahead and have access to my video camera. Other than that, it wouldn't have granted the access unless I would have given it versus it being set on at all times. And after our discussion today, I'm going to go back into my app and change my settings back for Bright Talk, not to have access to my microphone and not to have access to my video camera. All right. So we hear about, are the smart home devices listening in? So I'm going to go with what I've been reading in the news with different publications. Yes, those smart home devices are listening in. So if you're having a private conversation, whether it's work related or if it's a personal conversation that you don't want the smart home device to be listening in to, just turn off your device and turn it back on after you finish that conversation or you have that phone call. So this is a huge one, especially I just think about my friends. If I post a picture of them and I don't have the right angle, I'm never going to hear the end of it. So definitely ask for permissions before posting pictures. And today there's different social mediums that I'm going to share. Posting on social media, online dating, yes. Who would have thought that in a privacy talk today, I would be sharing online dating? I'm not sharing online dating tips. This isn't the love line here, but how to protect your privacy online. And then voice over internet protocol, and then just the overall online presence. For social media, one of the things that I hear the most from my friends is, when people post pictures of their kids, and sometimes these pictures have personable identifiers as to the school that they go to, the location of the school, or what grade the student might be in. Before posting, definitely just ask the respective parent or guardian whether or not it's okay to post that picture. And in this picture here, I've covered up some items, but here are 6 identifiers where it's easy for me to figure out where these kids go to school, where the school is located, and the grade of the respective student that's graduating. Another item too, if you want to share the pictures, there are options within whatever social media site you are in to create close circles. So that way only you and your very close relatives and friends can actually have visibility to these pictures or videos. But keep in mind, it doesn't prevent them from taking screenshots or downloading the photo. So only give access to those that you truly trust. All right. Ask for permission again before posting pictures or videos. Online dating. So the biggest one that I have here is only provide the necessary information. I remember when I used to use online dating, they would have their first and last name. My recommendation is just have your nickname. For example, my name is Veronica. My nickname could be Nika. You don't need your last name to be posted. You don't need your work to be where you work. You could just maybe have your role if you want. But having those details, I was able to look up the information about the individual before going on the date. Where they went to school, where they worked, their family, their social media sites. And sometimes I would go on these dates and I would be like, Veronica, why did you go? You already knew beforehand, girl. And it's because I was desperate. But, again, with these dating profiles or these surveys that you may be taking, only provide the information that's necessary. It doesn't have to be true. It doesn't have to be valid. Try to keep yourself as what is the word I'm looking for? Hidden as possible. All right. So I'm not sure if for those of you who aren't familiar with VoIP, VoIP is voice over internet protocol. So it's basically, rather than sending an SMS through your phone provider, it's sending an SMS or a phone call over the internet. And the reason why I highlighted this one is because I recently submitted a data subject access request to one of the VoIP providers. And in my report, I was just blown away about how much information they have about me. And one of the things that stood out the most is my picture. They have my picture stored. Another thing I found out is if someone happens to have my phone number and they have VoIP as well, and they happen to have the same app, they're able to look up who I am and what I look like. Not necessarily where I live or anything, but they have my picture and are able to identify me. All right, so this one is near and dear to my heart. Verify the source before sharing any personal information. And it's near and dear to my heart because I have a lot of friends who take in on some of the activities, as well as I have some people that have been impacted of sharing their information before verifying the source. I'm sure we all have seen this. We're all very familiar with this. We'll see it build up on our social media sites or social media feeds where it asks all these questions. And then there's your response to all these questions. But if you look at these questions are the same questions that are your security questions. So essentially, if you're completing this survey and sharing it with people, then they have access to your security questions. And another thing is, like, you don't know who is the end receiver to this survey that you're completing, right? You just know it's an online survey. You don't know who's viewing it. They can use it as a way to social engineer and hack into your accounts, because it's really just harvesting all the answers to your security questions to determine your password. So as much as possible, please, please do not take part in these surveys, because they are collecting your information and you don't know where it's going. The same thing goes with tap to play. I have so many friends and relatives that I see playing tap to play. And so many times I'm just like, stop playing this, please. You're like giving out your information to this application as to who you are, what you do, and why are you giving out this information? Is it to find out which Halloween character you're most like? I tell my sister, you don't need to take this, girl. We already know you're more like a witch, okay? There's no need to take this tap to play. And then this is the one that we've seen the most, and I've seen people fall victim to it. They can be my friends, they can be my family, and they can even be my colleagues. And I've been in cybersecurity for quite some time, and it's really concerning when I see some of my team members fall for this scam. And that's why I'm here. If anything, make sure you're having this conversation with your loved ones and letting them know, verify the source before any information is shared. So one, the IRS, they have it right there on their site. They'll never call you. Sometimes it's not the IRS that's calling. Sometimes it's a hospital bill, a credit card bill, a mortgage bill. Whatever it may be, one of the things that I do when I get a call is I ask for the information, I ask for their callback number, then I log on. Let's just say my hospital calls me and I know the name of my hospital. I ask for the information. After I get off the call, I don't give away any information while I'm on the call, by the way. I Google the hospital's number, I give it a call, and I ask, I just was contacted by you. Please let me know if you guys are looking for this information. They can say yes or they can say no. Once they say no, I know at that time that it was just a scam. I know it's more work, but I'd rather individuals take more time to do more work and verify the source, because if not, then the cleanup is a lot more work. All right, and that leads into monitoring your credit report. Look for errors and fraud. So this is something that I cannot stress enough, especially considering the fact that that's how we're measured. From a society aspect, one of the metrics, some companies offer this for their employees. I know at Cisco they do in the US. I'm not sure about other areas, but they do offer monitor credit reporting for free as one of our benefits. So definitely look into your company to see if this is something that they offer for you for free. If not, you can reach out to the credit bureaus to collect your necessary report, give it a review, as well as, dispute any errors that you may see. All right, this is my favorite one to discuss, because in the past when I've shared some privacy tips, this was the favorite one. Everyone loved this. This was eye-opening. People didn't know that this existed. They knew about the create a spam email, but they didn't know about create a spam phone number. All right, so if you are like me, I absolutely love getting free things. I love getting coupons. On my birthday, I am there redeeming my free coffee. Trust and believe, I am there. But when I sign up for these accounts, it's not my email address that I use all the time. It's not my, I guess, main or legit email address. I created a spam email for this, as well as a spam phone number, because some of the things that I've seen take off is an email address is no longer enough for these reward programs, but I want to sign up because I want to get a discount. If I buy 10 sandwiches, I want my 11th sandwich to be free. And what I did is using Google Voice, I was able to create a spam phone number, and that verifies that I can go, and that is good enough for the company to verify a phone number. So it does work. So absolutely, I feel like all my tips are great here, but one of the things that everyone took away in the past is creating a spam email and spam phone number. One thing that I will share is remember the name that you associated this spam account name. For example, I was at the coffee shop and I forgot what name I gave it. So make sure you remember the name so that you're not waiting around to get your coffee. And I don't recommend using your email spam and spam phone number for your bank account or your mortgage or important accounts. Definitely for those that that are less urgent for you. And then the other thing, just keep in mind that even though you have a spam email and a spam phone number, data is still being collected about you. It's just collected under that spam email and spam phone number. And targeted ads can be still created for you. I'll give you an example. In the past, one of the retail companies that we're all familiar with and shop at, a young girl, she was probably about 16, if I remember the story correctly. She was buying a lot of pregnancy items or baby items because she was pregnant. And then she received a quote unquote pregnancy coupon in the mail to her home address. And when she received it to her home address, her dad was furious. So he showed up at the retail company complaining about, why are you guys sending my daughter a coupon for pregnancy items, for baby items? Are you encouraging, young sex? He was just like going off on the company. And then come to find out, the young girl was pregnant. So this algorithm of the data that was being collected, the retail company knew before the parent that the daughter was actually pregnant. So yes, your data is still being collected, but it's going towards your spam email and spam phone number. All right, my favorite, it's probably my favorite because I used to work at Duo, protect all login accounts with multi-factor authentication. So MFA is an added layer of security to your account. It provides a second means or quote unquote password to verify that it is you. So in a world where there are there's only, so it verifies that it's you if it's something that you have or something that's inherited. So it could be like a biometric feature or something that you are. And my preference and my suggestion is to have an MFA that's set up that is an application on your phone versus an SMS or versus an option where it's SMS or over the phone, because while it's not football, your phone calls and SMSs may be intercepted. So in a world where there's only one Tom Brady and very many Tony Romos, it's best to set up MFA where the application option is available. And here are some cool stories actually that I wanted to highlight. So even within the apps on my phone, I have MFA set up on them. And there's, as you could see, the scammer borrows and steals more than 1.4K through an app. So essentially what happened was this individual had one of those Paying mobile apps on their phone, and they happened to let a stranger use their phone. The stranger said they were using the phone, but in reality, the stranger was using their payment app and transferring money to their account. Here's this person trying to be nice, and then here's this other individual who's actually taking the money. A way to prevent that is, one of the things that I do is, if that happens to happen to me, if I happen to lend someone my phone because, their car broke down, I have MFA set up on all my apps. So if they would have tried to log on to that Payne app to transfer themselves money, it would have prompted a second password. And that second password, only I know it. So definitely, again, set up MFA where you can. The best option is application versus phone or SMS. I know some companies don't offer application, but if you could set it up, that would be great. All right. So this is something that I've learned within the privacy office here at Cisco is building products and processes with privacy by design and default. So what privacy by design means, include privacy in the planning phase. So let's just say I myself want to create one of those smart home devices. When I'm creating that smart home device, I know that that device is only going to be used when I ask it a question and it needs to respond to something, or if I needed to change the AC or the heat in my home. That means that that respective product, just thinking about privacy by default, meaning limit the collection, which is also known as data minimization, processing, storage, and accessibility. When that product is delivered to someone like you because you're interested in a smart home device, that smart home device would only work for that reason. If you want it to have the option to listen into your daily conversations, you would have to go in there and opt in to make that feature available. So it's basically creating a product with privacy by design. And then when you deliver this product, it has the highest privacy settings or standards available. And you, as the end user, you have the right, you have the option to go in there and change it to meet whatever privacy standards or recommendations you feel comfortable with. I also want to mention that this doesn't only apply to products, it also applies to processes. So I'm not sure how many people we have on the call that might be in operations, they might be in people in communities. But within people and communities, one of the things that we offer are learning and development opportunities. And sometimes some of these classes offer materials that can be mailed to the home's individual, or the team member has the respective option to have the material online only. So in this instance, I would include privacy in the planning phase. Well, I know there are some team members that don't want the book mailed to them. So what I would do was when I would create a form to say, hey, are you interested in this privacy training? Yes. Okay. Are you interested in having the book mailed to you? If you are, then I would need your address. And then the form would continue. And and the other option would be, are you interested in having this book mailed to you? No, I'm not. Then I do not need to continue forward with that individual and ask them for their address. I do not need their data. Again, limit the collection. So when you're creating products and processes, at the very beginning, start working with your engineering team, start working with your product council, everyone involved, to make sure that privacy is set up by design and by default. This is one of the quotes that I love the most. It's the most expensive data a company can have is the data the company does not need. And what I think about this is how much, there's two things. One is you have to secure your data, and then the data that you as a consumer provide. And it reminds me of the Great Hack. I believe that's the name of the movie on Netflix, where it talks about how data has now become more expensive than oil, in terms of it's valued more than oil. So definitely, if you're a company, don't collect data you don't need. There's no reason you need to have this data on file. Only collect what is needed. And as a consumer, only provide the necessary information. All right, know your privacy rights. And as I spoke to this earlier, this is one that impacted me as a California resident. I mentioned Beyonce earlier, how she cannot do this alone. One of the things that one of my colleagues shared with me, Anna, is that in May 2018, GDPR was Googled more than Beyonce. I was shocked, and it actually made me even love my colleague Anna even more because she enjoys privacy, and like me, she also likes Beyonce. But yes, I just thought this was really cool, and I wanted to share this with the team. On the lower left corner, you can see the chart. I mean, it was just by a little, but GDPR can call a win when it calls a win. All right. So there are other regions that have privacy laws that aren't only the EU and California, but I wanted to focus on these two. And while you see the left side is not as long as the right side, I want to just share that some of these overlap, and due to the time, I won't be able to go over them in depth. But what I can do is I'll shoot Lynn a link to a GDPR, California Consumer Privacy Act comparison, so you can see the overlaps. But as a California resident, and similar to GDPR, you have the right to know, which is the same as right of access. As a consumer, you can ask a company for the data that they have about you. And they're required to give it to you. And then the one that I mentioned earlier is right to delete. As I mentioned earlier, this is the one that I felt was the best advantage because I just didn't feel safe as an individual with my physical address being out there. So I went on each site to remove my physical address so that it's no longer available. I don't mind if people have my LinkedIn. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, but knowing where I live is not cool. It's a security issue, a physical security issue. The right to opt out. So you'll see that the right to opt out is not listed in GDPR, but it is there. But before I go into that, the right to opt out as a California resident means you have the right to opt out and not sell your personal information. So if you log on to any site, if you're in California most recently, you've probably noticed in the cookie banner, it asks you right to opt out, right to do not sell my information. And while there isn't a direct discussion in the GDPR to right to not sell my information, there is an option to right to opt out under right to restrictive processing and right to object. And you also have the right to withdraw your consent at any time to continue the processing of your data. And under GDPR, you'll notice obligation to notify recipients. You don't see that under the California Consumer Privacy Act. But if someone does submit a request to right to delete, that also means that respective vendor has to, or business has to, notify the recipients as well to delete any information they might have gathered as a third party. Right to non-discrimination is implicit within the GDPR. You might not see it here, but it's implicit. The GDPR does not need to rate it out. And basically, right to non-discrimination within the California Consumer Privacy Act summarizes as just because you submitted a DSAR or decided to opt out does not mean that respective company can act in malintent towards you as a data subject. And data subject means you as the respective business owner, you as the consumer. Another one that I think is cool under GDPR, let's just say you wanted to move from Facebook to Google Plus, you would ask Facebook in Europe to transfer your data over to Google Plus, and they would do it. Versus if you can go ahead and request the information on the California Consumer Privacy Act, but there isn't a direct lineage that Facebook would have to transfer your information to Google Plus. it's really cool just knowing your rights. Again, I didn't cover all their regions. There's other regions that have their own privacy rights. The team is currently working on a new privacy legislation that's come through China. But depending on what region you live in, definitely check out what your rights are. It's really just about being informed and know um, what you can do as a consumer if you feel you want to protect your online presence. And with that, within this stack, which is available within the Bright Talk discussion, you can go ahead and, just do a checkup. See what you want to have set up with any of these main or popular social media sites. And then again, number 2 is updating your privacy settings. I love this example. You don't need your app that provides you daily recipes to know your location. And then it's just the last slide. Definitely let's stay connected on LinkedIn. Veronica Toscano. This will also be available on Bright Talk. So if you want to just click on the link, it'll be available for us to connect and stay connected.
Great. That was a wonderful presentation. Lots of good information shared, and we have some great questions coming in. So I'm excited for you to tackle those. And I'll just go ahead and ask them to you. What are the most current successful measures to mitigate ransomware attacks? Thank you for sharing your painful and personal family domestic abuse. That was a very touching story, and we are all sorry that you had to go through that, but that's what led you to this privacy discussion. So we appreciate your time and commitment into protecting others. So thank you, Veronica.
Thank you. Yes, and that's why I'm here. I want to make sure everyone's informed. And ransom attacks. Oh gosh, that's such a good question that I honestly feel that a detailed response is something I wouldn't be able to provide. But from a high level, just making sure you have all the security measures in place. For me personally, like I mentioned, I have MFA set up on my accounts within my browsers as well. My personal laptops, I have antivirus set up. But as a company, let me lean in on one of my colleagues and I'll get back to the respective person if that's okay.
That's good. Thank you. What advice would you give someone entering cybersecurity or privacy? And how did you get started in privacy?
The best advice that I could give is, well, one, as you can see, I have these words of affirmation, and just go for it is basically what this summarizes. So one is just go for it. And that's how I got into privacy. I have a cybersecurity background, and I saw this privacy role available within Cisco. Interviewed. Again, it's kind of like Sheryl Sandberg mentioned, women only apply when they meet 100% of the criteria. Men apply when they meet 50 or 60% of the criteria. I shot my shot, and my team was grateful enough to give me this opportunity, or kind enough to give me this opportunity, and I'm really grateful for it. The other piece that I would give advice to anyone that's young is, I guess older at this point too, but definitely it'll impact you when you're younger, is when you start creating your social media presence, like your LinkedIn profile or Facebook or Gmail or anything, use a nickname. Don't use your government name. It makes it easy for people to track you.
Great advice. On dating sites, never switch over to a more private app to continue communicating with an interested party. Never give out personal information or money. Okay. So I think we all agree with that, but that's very good. Good advice. Do you have anything else to add to that, Veronica?
No, we hear it often about these dating sites where people ask people for money and they think the love interest is going to go somewhere. So they feel coerced into doing it. So absolutely, I'm very grateful to the person that highlighted that.
Thank you. Someone mentioned great tips. Thank you, Veronica. I think we all love the tips and the presentation. Very good. And then I Googled my name and discovered that there is a My Life website that lists my age, current address, family members. What can I do?
So this is something that I learned how to do once CCPA came into play. Depending on where you live, you have if you scroll down to the bottom or just search on the page, do not sell, or maybe just search for the term sell. And there should be a link that says, do not sell my information. You click on the link, and then surprisingly enough, you're going to have to provide your information again to delete your information, but they need this in their database so that way they know never to have your information on their site again. And then they're going to email you a link to verify that you have submitted this request. So make sure you verify that it's you submitting this request. And then it should take at least 30 days, or maybe 12 months, depending on where you're located, to remove your information from online. But look out for that second email. It's kind of like MFA. They want to verify that it's you, so they're sending you a second email.
Very good information. Thank you. What are some ways we can inform students about privacy rights and how to be safer online? Very good question. National Cybersecurity Awareness Month.
I love that question. When I was working at McAfee, we had this online safety for kids program that my colleague Vanessa and I helped revamp and launch. And we went out to schools to create awareness for the students. And then it led into creating awareness for the parents. And one of the things that I do when I'm talking, or when I used to present back in the day, especially to parents, is, ask your kids who they're playing video games with. Do they know the person? Because oftentimes we've seen it time and time over again where they say it's a 13-year-old kid, but it might be a 30-year-old man. So just have that conversation. And then the other piece is, which comes up a lot and I see, is they tend to meet up with this individual in person. Kids, right? We're kids. We don't know any better. So just have that conversation that, don't give out any information. If you do want to go meet up with that person, tell me about that person you're meeting up with. And I mean, it's really up to you as a parent to go ahead and let it happen, but maybe just be there at the mall, looking at them, watching them at their every instance. But having conversations is key.
Yes, I agree. And then someone shared great tips. Thanks, Beyonce. I was thinking the same thing too when you were presenting. I was like, it's a great question. Okay, and a couple more questions. Or what career tips would you give someone entering? Well, we kind of already went through that, but do you have anything else to add? Any career tips someone entering into privacy? I mean, you just go for it. Take the risk for yourself. Let them say no.
Yeah, exactly. Let them say no. Don't tell yourself no. Turn off that voice in your head. And familiarize yourself with privacy and what it means. I think for me, like, the reason why I'm so interested is because it directly impacts me. So when you start to learn about privacy and start to learn about it from your perspective and how it impacts you, and I think it will just take off.
Great advice. When you create your spam email and spam phone number, should you use your real name to create the accounts?
I love that question because I got that question in my last presentation. No, it kind of goes back to providing only the necessary information about yourself. It goes back to the advice that I gave earlier about, if you're starting off in social media, start with the nickname. The only people that need to know your government name is your family and when you actually apply for the job. So your LinkedIn profile can say, in my instance, Nika Toscano. When I apply for the job, I can be Nika Toscano. But when I actually submit my application with the company, at that time, I need to give them Veronica as my name. And so when you're creating your spam or phone number, email or phone number, don't use my suggestion would be, don't use your real name, use a nickname, use Beyonce 123. I don't know if that's taken or not, but just use something that doesn't relate to you.
Great, thank you. And I have spam email addresses and spam phone numbers set up for emailing lists, but I still get lots of spam texts. Is there a way I could scrub my online presence and or see who has my info?
So depending on where you live, so like if you live in Europe, there is this phone register where you can opt out. Or in the EU, not Europe, sorry. And what I do personally on my phone, because I don't know who wrote that, but I hear you and I get it. But my spam phone number is turned on my phone, but I have it set to silent because I know no one that I care about is calling me on that spam phone number. Another thing that I know Apple recently, I don't know if it's recent, but one of my friends mentioned to me was you could set your settings where phone calls don't come through unless the individual is a saved contact.
Oh, good. And that person just followed up with, I try to report the spammer, but doesn't always work. Yeah.
Yeah. If not, then definitely just set up your spam phone number as off the entire time. That's what I
Mhm.
did.
Yeah. Very good. And one last question is, what are your thoughts on a password manager?
So I was going to include that on my tips today. The only reason I removed it because I felt it was security related, but at the same time, this password manager is protecting your personal identifiable information. I think a password manager is essential, especially when you're working in a business. That way, you don't have to, Lynn, I wouldn't have to share with you my password. I can use a password manager to share the password, and you would never have visibility into that password. And you can go ahead and log on to the respective account without me ever giving you the clues to what it could be. Then I also hear the other side that, you're putting all your eggs in one basket. At the same time, it's better. It's kind of like assessing the risk. And I think that having a password manager is more effective than not having one, even though you're putting your eggs all in one place.
Good information. Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to everything, and it is just assessing the risk and what that looks like for you and what is in alignment with you. So, great information, Veronica. I know that everyone enjoyed and appreciated it. We had tons of questions come in. So I thank the audience for your time and attention and sharing your afternoon with us, for being a part of today's discussion, for putting those questions in and engaging throughout the webinar. It has been a pleasure to have Veronica, and we always appreciate Cisco and their strategic partner support and all things that they do to engage within the WeSys community. So with that, we're going to just go ahead and wrap it up. And again, thank you, Veronica. It was a joy to have you.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye, everyone.